We are live here on SCTV, so I would like to call the meeting to order at 7:02, please. All right. On the phone, we have Alicia Anthony, Steve Kirby, Karen Campfield, Larry Gilmet, Carl Campagna, Ed DeSalvio, Joe Bargman, and Kevin Kelly at the time. If we could all take a minute to review the minutes from last meeting, that'd be great. Hi, who called in?
Hi, it's Linda.
Hey, Linda. Hi, who called in?
Hi. Hey, it's Stephanie.
Great. Hey, Stephanie, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Good. We were just taking
Good,
a
how are
minute
you?
to review the minutes here. All right. Anybody have any comments or edits to the minutes?
No, I don't.
Nope.
No.
All right.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 16, 2020 as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Seconded by Carl.
Is that Carl?
Alicia, if you could do a roll call, it'd be great.
Larry?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Ed?
I passed because I wasn't at the meeting.
Karen, do you vote on this? I do not.
No.
Stephanie Holland? Aye. And Steven?
Yes. And Linda, I think you missed Linda.
I think I do. Oh, Linda. Sorry, Linda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. All right, so everybody voted in favor, so motion passes. Thank you. All right. So we'll get right into it here. We'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the discussion of the Senior Center project, and we'll start off with Steve Kirby for an update of the project and move through the items on the agenda here. So Steve, I'll hand the mic over to you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go quickly verbally through the construction progress update for the Senior and Rec Center, and then I'll flip through the photo documentation log, and then we can get on to the next item. At the Senior Center, drainage in the major drainage is complete, and most of the smaller drainage, which is connecting roof leaders to the main drainage system, is complete. Binder went down on the project on the 16th of July. Site lighting, light poles are complete except for some smaller bollards that are going to be at the front entry. Vertical granite curbing has been delivered, and they're starting that installation. I'd say framing is probably 90-95% complete at this point. Roof trusses and roof decking recently went on. They're doing punch list and some smaller build-outs of the deck roofs and some bump-out areas. Window delivery has occurred, and they're stored in a trailer. They did the mock-up, and they're starting installation of windows. Electrician has been on site recently doing some temporary lighting, and has started some rough-in. Light gauge framing on the interior partition started this week.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Roofing is scheduled. Roofing is scheduled to start this week, and siding will start after the window installation. At the rec center, the elevator pit and the masonry shaft is being completed, including the steel roof deck. The roofing is complete on the gym portion of the rec center, including the snow guards and the gutters and downspouts. They still have areas to do on the lower section that connects the A to the gym. The parking lot was also developed and bindered on the 16th next to the gym. Vertical granite curbing has started installation at the entrance to Cudworth. All the drainage that was completed prior to that, the fine grading. They've also started grading for sidewalks. Work on the interior has been pending due to change orders that we recently received, and that was based on some of the unexpected conditions we found once the demolition was complete, both for plumbing, some seismic restraint that was necessary. There's some masonry walls that had no seismic, no lateral support whatsoever. There were a bunch of bulletins were issued, and we're sort of sludging our way through the change order process. I'll go into the photo documentation log now. If everybody has that, hopefully.
Yeah, Steve, I just have one question on, so the exterior, the window markup, that was just the window and the framing, right? That wasn't what, you didn't have a mock-up that you had weather tested or anything like that, right?
The mock-up was installed with Pella representatives on site.
Okay.
That's the window that's in the corner of the building on the northeast side of the multipurpose room.
Okay. So it's nothing complex, it's just
So that,
you didn't do any weather testing or, I mean, it's just a standard window install, right?
no spray test, no.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions on the schedule, or the progress, rather?
No, that being none,
Okay.
let's move into the photo log. Thank you.
Okay. The first photo on page 2 is a view of the primary electrical conduit, underground conduit coming from the telephone pole on First Parish to the transformer location. And essentially these are somewhat set up as senior center first in chronological order, and then rec center the second portion of this documentation. The next page is showing the rough grading of the existing parking lot that was located between the A-wing classroom and the soccer field, which we brought down essentially to a point at the south end of the A-wing, to where we stopped. Took up the old asphalt, regraded, new gravel, and that was getting a new pavement, a little bit wider section for vehicles, and that connects into the back of the senior center parking lot. Page 4 is a view of the top of the elevator shaft in the senior center, showing the metal decking that's been welded to the embed plates, and you can see the framing of the second floor around it. Page 5 is the view up on the roof, showing the roofing framing as underway, some exposed trusses in the foreground, and also shows the fact that we have essentially 3 building sections with pitched roofs, and then the flat areas in between, which will hold mechanical equipment. The next page is the window that was used for the mock-up, which is essentially the window throughout the project. Next page is a view of the framing over the west section of the senior center, roof framing and gables. Next page is some boulders that were peeled out of the parking areas. This was a particularly large one. It's 8 cubic yards, but that's showing a boulder that's already been broken up. It was larger. Those are the pieces. Next, page 9 is a view of the framing and roof sheeting ongoing on the east elevation. Is over the program rooms and the multi-purpose room. You can see the mock-up window on the lower right of the building.
Looks good.
Page 10, another view of the upper roofs, trusses and deck sheeting, including the flat section of the roof. Page 11, somewhat same, roof trusses and roof deck sheeting ongoing.
Steve, can I interrupt here for a second? This is JD. Just curious, how are we handling snow up there on the flat surfaces?
Well, depending on how deep it is, if it gets too deep, you're going to have to remove the snow, or it's recommended to with a plastic shovel, because you got units up there you may want to clear around. But there is, generally speaking, you're going to have regular melting.
Okay.
But it is a concern on all buildings, especially when we get drifting snow. You want to try and get as much off as possible.
Yeah. But the only way to do it is manually up there with a shovel to clear a little bit.
Yeah, I know people go up there with snow blowers, but that's not really recommended on membrane roof.
No, too heavy.
Question, is there access, this is Karen Canfield, is there access to that, is there access to that roof? Other than,
Yes.
putting a ladder? Okay.
Yes, there's a ladder up. The pitched areas have a catwalk in each one of them, and there's an access ladder from the second floor into the pitched roofs where the trusses are, and then there's an access door out on the end to get to that flat level, because we got to do the maintenance on the units.
Yeah.
Okay.
Page 12 is just a view of the fine grader prepping for binder in the senior center parking lot. Page 13 is a view from the B wing of the south side of the senior center over the offices of the wall and roof sheeting. They've set up staging up at the top so they can work on that edge. Page 14 is a long view of the parking area prep prior to paving from the ball field facing north to the senior center. The next page is the preparation for the ABB around the window openings prior to installation of the windows. Page 16 was the binder course installation day. That's again a view from the B wing roof down into the senior center parking lot. It's the cleanest you're ever going to see that asphalt. Page 17, that's the going over to the rec center. That's the elevator pit slab and the casing for the piston, and the rebar getting ready for the walls. Next page, the elevator pit walls are completed. You can see the demo that's being done at the main entry to the gym. Page 19 is a view of the underground stormwater retention basin that was going in under the parking lot next to the gym at the entrance to Cudworth.
Steve, can I interrupt again? This is JD. So once there's underwater retention, where does that water then flow?
Eventually it goes, there's a connection that you can't see in this photo out, essentially from where that concrete manhole structure is, to a pipe out to Cudworth Street, and a new drain manhole was placed over the existing drainage line in Cudworth.
Okay. So retention flows onto another drain.
Eventually it goes into the town system, correct,
Yeah, okay.
as an overflow. Page 20 is just a view of the completed masonry elevator shaft at the gym entry. Page 21 is the roofing work on the gym, showing the new snow guards, which run along this north and south roof line. 22 is an aerial view of the retention basin and the issue somewhat showing where the entrance is going to be to Cudworth from the parking lot, the new parking lot. Page 23, fine grading at the Cudworth parking lot in anticipation of paving. Page 24, that's a photo a couple days after the paving of the Cudworth parking lot, the binder course. And page 25 are the footings for the new entry stairs and ramp that are going to be at the gym main entry. That was last week. The walls are going to be poured tomorrow for that. That's the visual update on the progress to date.
So that interior, the gym there that you're saying is with the change orders and stuff. Is that just been demoed? There's been nothing built in there.
They started doing some of the framing for the toilet rooms. The toilet rooms on the second floor had a raised floor, so some of that framing has gone in. But they started to find issues with the plumbing lines, so they stopped on that. The plumbers started, but they held up because of routing of piping. And then, like I said, we had to get the structural engineer out to look at the unrestrained walls that were to remain.
Right.
So there was some design on putting in restraint with a variety of steel angles and light gauge framing. And there's other issues that came up. The roof, the high roof above the gym, which is over the mechanical equipment that's in that big chase that the roof ladder goes up to. That roof drain was not connected when we went up there. To replace that roof, we looked at trying to connect that roof drain, but access was very difficult to get to it because it's actually over the operable partition that's in the gym. So access is blocked. So there's been a redesign to that roof, which is a PCO that's under review now. So there's been a few things that we discovered, which was not unexpected because it's an existing building.
Right. But
at this point, the overall completion date on the schedule has not changed. There's some, I think there's some positioning by Delphi, which we're going to have a discussion about schedule. They're saying that the completion of the gym is going to be longer than what was anticipated, but they were planning on completing that before the overall completion. So
right.
That's sort of in the works right now, or under discussion, let's say.
Okay. How are you doing with MEP equipment? Everything looking still fine on schedule?
Right now, we haven't really had anything that we've been told is going to be a delay. We're trying to turn around equipment submittals as quick as possible in order to avoid that potential. There has been some discussion on the lighting package, but I think that has been resolved so that Griffin can release the lighting package. We have recently received a coordination drawing that has overlays from all the MEPs. That will
Can,
allow
someone's fire alarm going
for,
off? Can everyone mute their phone except Steve, possibly?
that is
Don't think
off?
it's at my end.
There we go. All right, carry on, Steve. Thanks.
Okay. So we have a set of coordination drawings with overlays from all the MEPFB subs. So there's, that's key because there are some areas that are tight as far as what's going above the ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's going to be worked out with Rachel and Joel and Delphi as far as we have to lower some ceilings, which it appears we do, but we're lowering from 10 feet. We're not lowering from 8 feet, so it shouldn't be too drastic an issue.
Okay. All right. How's the kitchen and that equipment coming along? That's another kind of big piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, that kitchen installation hasn't started yet. I have heard no issues with equipment. Again, there was some ceiling height issues in the kitchen that are being dealt with just because of access to the condenser for the walk-in cooler, freezer, but no negative impact as far as I'm aware of.
Okay. I think the only other one is just how you guys making out with the COVID compliance and transitioning through the phases and everything. Everything going smoothly, or any jam ups with paperwork or training?
No, so far, the workers are either maintaining social distancing or wearing the face masks. They still have the wash station set up outside. They've got the trailers have the sanitizer. So it's an issue that we have on our job meeting minutes every week. So there's no forgetting about it.
Got it. Good. Any other comments from the board?
No, I have none. Nope.
Was that Larry?
None
you
for
have
me.
anything?
Yeah, no comments.
Okay. Ed?
Steve, I have a quick question. This is JD for Steve. So in the rec center, in the ceilings, is it because we got to drop them down because of new pipes or new insulation, or both?
Well, when I was talking about the ceilings, it was for the senior center. And,
Oh, okay.
And you're right. It's because of the biggest thing up above the ceiling, depending on where you are in the building, is ductwork. There's a unit up on the roof in between in that area that I was showing that was a flat area that's getting supply and return air ductwork. That's fairly large. That takes up a lot of space because you can't have anything going through a piece of duct. So it's going to, part of the issue is going to happen in the second floor corridor. That ceiling may not be as high as what is shown, but it's certainly not going to be, a ceiling that's low that's going to look out of place. So we got to be able to allow the ductwork, and they're looking at how they can orient the ductwork to lessen the amount of ceiling that has to be lowered. And we've talked about that with Delphi already, and they'll finalize certain things fairly quickly because again, they're getting ready to put the roofing on. They really haven't been able to do much as far as rough-ins inside the building because it's not weather tight. I think as some of us have seen on rain days. But once they get the the roof on, then they'll really be able to go to town as far as, wiring and piping and duct and so forth.
Yep. Yep, it's coming. They're starting to get some windows up. They're starting to get some of the roof up, so it's coming.
Yep.
Good. All right, so no other questions or comments for Steve? Good.
This is Karen, could I ask a question?
Of course, go ahead, Karen, yes.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused with new construction, how there can be a revision in the ceiling heights, because I would think that would be in the original design of where the plumbing, where the ductwork was going to go. So I'm a little confused by why that's a thing. Is that just something that happens, or what?
Sometimes it happens. It's because roof drains and storm drains and sewer drains are usually run on gravity. So sometimes when you get into the building, and theoretically on paper it looks like it'll work, but when you get into a building and design it, sometimes you get jammed up a little bit. They do have pretty sophisticated ways of doing coordination studies. They have 3D modeling and things like that. I think that stuff's rather expensive, and I don't think we went through that effort, but that's what I've seen on construction projects. It's like once you get out in the field, stuff just clashes sometimes, and
It's not uncommon. It does happen.
Okay, but it's not technically a change order, it's just a design amendment?
Tweak.
It's a
tweak.
tweak.
Yeah, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure it's not costing extra money.
No.
No, it should
Okay.
be.
All right, well, keep them as high as you can.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
We will.
All right. Anything else? All right. So
You want to go on to the next item?
Yeah, let's move on to the
Bulleted
next
item,
one,
which
yeah.
is the finish.
So yeah, I'll let you take this one too,
Okay.
Steve. So selected, with the COVID here and it's having in-person meetings and touching and feeling some of these finishes is proving a little challenging with the COVID scenario we're all dealing with. So I think, we need to talk through how we're going to come to the end conclusion of some of these finishes and selections. I know, Steve, you had some ideas on where to go with it.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit, then I'll turn it over to Joel. First off, we're trying, trying to get all of the samples from the contractor and the various subcontractors, so that we have the samples and the color boards available to present. And we've been a little slow on that. However, what we had talked about for this week was somewhat, I want to say, rubber stamp-ish to a degree, because we were looking to show everybody the siding colors that were recommended, but we had presented those to the design review board, who had approved those colors. So it was something that, if we deviate much, if any, it'd be a DRB issue too. So this one that we said if anybody could come by, and I know a couple members did come by today. I think it was JD and was it Carl?
Yeah.
They came by? Yeah.
Yep.
So that it's sort of a dry run, let's say, but going forward, there's on the interior, and we were trying to push this ahead because they're doing windows and they want, they're going into siding next, so that made sense. But going forward, we're going to have a lot more colors that, need review, and the question is how are we going to do it? Normally speaking, it would be a field type discussion with maybe Linda and the interior designer and whoever else, and then it'd be a presentation to you as a commission with a that's difficult. Now, I know you can have 10 people at the actual meeting, but I think with the entire commission plus, Bargman people and then the regulars, you're gonna go over that amount of 10 people. So
Yeah.
this isn't a Zoom meeting, so there's no video that even colors can be shown. So it makes it difficult to go through this process. And I guess I'll turn it over to Joel to put your 2 cents in on this and what you think is the best way to go about it, Joel.
Well, it's hard. I mean, we tried to do it by getting the samples to the trailer, and even that's difficult because the time constraints that, Delphi never actually gave us the samples for the exteriors. We had to track those down from our library, and if moving to the interiors, it's a little bit more complicated because those colors haven't really been reviewed previously. And if we put color boards together and just leave it at the trailer, it's not really that helpful because, the designers have to explain, what the color scheme is, why certain things were chosen, what goes where. You can't tell all that from the color board. And we also need to sort of explain how the interior finishes are going to work with the furnishings. So I guess the way we're doing it on some other projects is we have a finishes subcommittee, and they have the right, the permission to make decisions on behalf of the committee, and then that way we're able to get, a small group of people together and make decisions, and then if hopefully those recommendations just go back to the PBC and are accepted. That's how we are doing it on other projects. If we have a Zoom meeting, we can do that. We could, BHOSA could set up a Zoom meeting with the full PBC. The only problem with that is that the colors that you see on the Zoom meeting aren't necessarily the colors that we're looking at in daylight or, in real life. So,
Joel, if I can, Steve, if I can interject at this point, this is Carl.
Yeah.
Why can't we set up a subcommittee and do what you're doing on other projects?
That'd be fine.
Sure we can, but that's why we wanted to discuss it tonight.
Yeah, we had a subcommittee on the library job for colors and furniture.
What the problem was, I really wanted to release the finishes for the outside of the building tomorrow morning because I don't want to slow that down, and so I was hoping not to have a subcommittee for the outside of the building.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, I was up there at the trailer today. I saw the colors. I think they're fine. I have no problem with them.
Yeah, I think most of us saw the brick and asphalt shingles. I mean, the Hardy board's a pretty standard product, standard colors.
Yeah.
And like you said,
For
this
sure.
has all been reviewed by the planning board and all the commissions in town. I don't think we have much leeway on the exterior, honestly, to tell you the truth. So, how's the rest of the board kind of feeling that?
Yeah, I would be prepared to vote on that and accept the colors as they are for the exterior.
All right, who else was there?
That would be excellent.
Does anybody else have any comments on the exterior colors and finishes?
No, it's Linda. I agree with them, and Joel had brought them down the day we did the walkthrough on the 13th.
Right.
So Steve or Stephanie might have actually seen what it looked like at that point.
I did see it during our tour. This is Stephanie.
Yeah,
So I'm good with those.
I feel like we have a good grip on the exterior and the finishes from that tour and from basically the rigmarole we've gone through with the boards and commissions around town. I guess I'd be comfortable voting on the exterior tonight. How's everybody else feel on that?
Yeah, I would, this is Carl again, I would have no problem voting on it.
I agree, Larry. I agree, JD.
Stephanie, I agree as well.
All right.
And I'm good.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll make a motion just to kind of make it official here then. I'd like to make a motion to approve the exterior finishes for the Scituate Senior Center as submitted by the architects and reviewed by town commissions and boards previously. Is there a
Second? Oh, I'm not sure, I didn't know if you were through.
No, that's right, yeah, you can call it, that's it. So seconded by Carl, is there, can we do a roll call, Alicia?
Yeah. So Stephanie?
Second?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
And Stephen?
Yes, and John Miller too.
Oh, JD?
Yep. And I agree.
All right, all board members are voting in favor, so the motion passes. So we're good there, Joel. I think that one's pretty cut and dry.
Thank you.
I think you're right moving forward. A subcommittee, for the finishes, because the inside's certainly more complex than the exterior, and the interiors had been less publicized with a lot of the boards and committees around town.
Do we want to pick that subcommittee now?
Yeah, I mean, we can. I don't think it's worth waiting another month to make a.
I mean, we are starting to move on FF&E. We are starting to
Right.
make decisions.
All right. Ed, just for some guidance here, what's the scenario for starting a subcommittee?
Well, the subcommittee typically, the user group members would be on it, and then you just want an odd number of people on it if they have to vote. So usually the user members are on it, and then a couple of the other building committee members.
Okay.
I mean, you could technically have 3 people if you wanted to, 2 user members and 1 building committee member.
Right. Okay, so that leaves JD and Linda on the subcommittee. And is there any other volunteers from the board, or?
I can lend a hand if you need to, Stephanie. Yeah, that's good.
All right. So that leaves, that leaves three members. I mean, I think that's a good selection, and you guys work closely with the architects on figuring out what we need. And I do like this presentation format. I don't know if that's too much trouble to put this together every time you need to make a selection. Is that something that we could do, or no?
Which one, the photos?
Yeah, the photos and kind of the numbers and where things land. Is that terrible?
Yeah, but she did do a nice job on.
Joe, is that something you can do?
Yeah, are you referring to the board that Rachel put together for the finishes, for the outside, or?
Yeah, the document Rachel sent
Yeah.
out earlier with the finishes on a page, and the next page was
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
numbers where things.
I mean, we would, we'll put together a finished board for the whole interiors. So we'll do that with the subcommittee, we'll document it, and then the full committee can see it if they like. We'll leave it in the trailer, that's where that resides.
Could they make it into a PDF similar to this one? So basically the subcommittee could go
Yes.
through it and get the best selections they have, then present it just for final sign off from the committee?
Sure.
So now, in saying
Well,
that,
I guess I have a question. Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Linda.
I guess a little bit of a question, since some choices have been made, for instance, so I enlisted a couple of other board members, Council on Aging board members, to look at the selections for the carpeting already. And we've been into the showroom for furnishings, and we have plans to do that again in a week or two.
Okay.
So would we do that and then come to the board, or have a subcommittee meeting, include Stephanie, anyone else, and then put it to a vote with the committee? I'm not sure what the whole process is, but we have started to look at things.
Yeah, I'll refer back to Ed. So when you had the subcommittee for finishes and things like that at the library, did they have to bring the selections to the full board for approval or no?
They brought their recommendations to the full board,
Yeah.
and then basically the board just approved it. Nobody tried to change anything.
Right, that makes sense.
We relied on the subcommittee to make the choices.
Okay.
Yeah, and timing-wise, I mean, at some point here, I imagine, meeting frequencies might have to pick up or meet on some off weeks and things like that. So, I mean, that's just where we're at, Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Great.
All right, I guess, do we need to vote in this subcommittee, Ed? It's just a...
No, we didn't vote. We just, once people volunteered, that was it.
Right.
Unless somebody has a problem with the makeup of the committee and they want to force a vote on it, but if everybody's fine, you don't need to.
Okay. So, yeah, so it looks like the subcommittee for colors and finishes for the senior center project will be comprised of John Miller, Linda, and Stephanie Holland. Does that sound good to everyone?
Great.
Good.
Thank you, Stephanie. And do what I have.
All right, so
That's good.
does that satisfy you, Steve Kirby and Joel? Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Good. All right, so I think that closes that line on that agenda item. So moving right along to the next one, which is review of change orders, requisitions, and voting. So the fun part here, right?
Yeah, the money part. I'll just go in the order of what's on the agenda, which would, the first thing would be the Delphi requisition number 6. This would be for work performed through June 30th. The total amount is $1,276,821.85. That brings them to 30.5% of the project. The application is for the costs associated with the Senior Center for Concrete, Steel, Carpentry, Roofing, Hardware, Windows, Specialties, Food Service Equipment, Elevator, HVAC, Electrical, Site Work, and Landscaping. And for the Recreation Center, Demolition Abatement, Concrete, Masonry, Miss Metals, Carpentry, Roofing, Doors, Elevator, HVAC, and Site Work, and then the general conditions for Delphi. And it was certified by the architect on July 23rd.
Right, and we also have a letter from Vertex saying it's been reviewed and signed off on, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So as we know, yeah, the project kind of costs ebb and flow. It seems like this is a heavier invoice, obviously, because we're kind of right in the heat of it. Does that sound fair?
Well, we're going to be seeing that. Actually, our cash flow had them being a little bit heavier before this.
Yeah.
but they need to be having some $1 million requisitions to stay on schedule.
Right.
So this is not a surprise here.
Is there any comments or questions from the board?
I have none.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for payment number 6 to Delphi Construction Company for services rendered through July 1st. Sorry, services rendered through June 30th in the amount of $1,276,821.85, bringing the total project billed out to 30.5%. The invoice has been certified by architect and by OPM for miscellaneous work on Senior Center and also the Scituate Recreation Center. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Larry Gilmet. If we could do a roll call.
Paul Campagna,
Yes.
Ed DeSylvia,
Yes.
Linda Hayes,
Yes.
Stephanie Holland,
Yes.
John Miller,
Yes.
and Larry,
Yes.
and Stephen.
Yes. Good. All in favor? And the motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the next item is Delphi change order number 5. That totals $31,325.27. It's comprised of 10 PCOs. I'll go through those. PCO number 14, excuse me, 9 PCOs. PCO 14 was to upgrade the under-counter refrigerator. The refrigerator that was required was not specified in the contract. It was a standard under-counter refrigerator. So we did look at potentially purchasing the refrigerator by the owner, but there was not an appreciable difference in cost, and we'd rather have Delphi be the ones that are handling the ordering and the delivery of it.
Because they'll own the warranty and all that stuff anyways too, right?
Right. So that PCO was total $2,075.81. The next PCO is 17R2, which was change in the roof exhaust fan. The specification had the fan as a single-phase fan, but it was required to be 3-phase. So the cost on that from the upgrade of the fan from the HVAC contractor and the wiring change was $1,886.97.
So I reviewed that one. That one did make sense to me. It was a change from 120 volts to 240 volts. I mean, it seems you'd get some electrical savings over the years, and it'd be a little more robust unit. So.
Yeah. 18R1. This is a change in the automatic transfer switch. The automatic transfer switch was specified at 260 amp. Our generator is actually 800 amps, so it needed to be an 800 amp, and it also required to be a service entrance rated automatic transfer switch. So that change is $8,289.04. Not much labor, mainly material cost.
Right. And that generator will carry the full facilities, correct? At 800 amps?
Full senior center, correct.
Elevators, all the good stuff. All right.
Yep. PCO number 20 was to make some drainage changes at the bocce court. The drawings had 2 clean outs located within the bocce court, which would make playing a little bit difficult, so we relocated those outside of the bocce court. And it also required the installation of an under drain, which is part of the standard court guidance to make sure that the water doesn't remain in the bocce court. So that change was $1,661.28. BCO 22, this was for removal of boulders. There's a unit price for removal of boulders that are over 1 cubic yard. We've been peeling them up here and there throughout the site. This particular one totaled $1,050. We've got a couple more in this change order also. Dan Alimo, who's my clerk out there, he measures them with the contractor. They confirms that they are greater than a cubic yard, and it's simply a unit price. PCO 23R1, there was a bulletin 25 issued on this. This was, I went over this one time earlier. This was when we found out that the drainage line on the west side of the site actually went underneath the fence, the existing fencing. So there had to be a redesign of the storm drainage line on the west side. It included relocating a couple of existing drainage structures that had already been delivered, so we really needed to use the core holes that were already in them, and we ended up having to add one other structure. That cost came in at $13,002.69.
So those are basically unforeseen circumstances that just came up.
Yeah, well, the existing conditions plan showed that pipe being entirely on the east side of the fence, which would have been accessible to the site as was the expected design. But for whatever reason, it took a sort of a left turn, depending on how you look at it, went under the fence and then came back in again before it eventually ties into an existing structure in First Parish.
Okay.
So because of that, it just wasn't going to work. We're going to be too close to the property line.
No, that's unfortunate, and we're doing underground work and underground piping adds up pretty quickly. So.
Right.
Steve, this is JD. So it's all draining into First Parish, correct?
Correct. Again, similar to what we saw on the photo documentation for for the Cudworth lot, there are the same type of structures, stormwater retaining structures on that side of the property also. So not everything goes to First Parish. It's mainly overflow on peak times. Most of it just goes back into the aquifer naturally. So it's not full bore drainage of the parking lot into First Parish.
Yep. Okay.
But it needs a place to go when we have an intense storm.
Yeah. And we don't have the
PCO 20
spill to a butters.
Right. PCO 26R1, again, additional boulder, that was $450. PCO 28, the handicap ramp at the new handicap ramp on the interior of the recreation center on the second floor, because the floor levels are different. There was a ramp there originally that had to be taken out because of the renovations. We have a new ramp going in. The flooring on the new ramp was specified as regular tile, which is not slip resistant. So we changed the flooring to slip resistant on the ramp, and that upcharge was $359.48.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then the last one is PCO 33. This was for removal of boulders at the Cudworth parking lot. totaling $2,550. The 8 cubic yard boulder was part of this, along with a group of others. Again, all were measured and confirmed and agreed to on the site. So the total again is $31,325.27. It's been signed by BH&A and Delphi.
How are we looking on contingency budgets and things?
Well, given how I track my PCOs, I have everything that's been submitted up to date, whether it's been approved or not, and we're going back and forth on a number of them.
Okay.
I've also have placeholders for some other things I'm figuring may come up. Not that it's going to be the be-all, end-all, but right now we still got about 66% of our construction contingency left.
And that's with, I know there's some more outstanding PCOs out there, so. Okay.
Yes, we have, our contingency is $510,618.70 on our construction contingency. Right now, we have the potential of, hold on a second. Our remaining contingency is $337,143. So we like I said, we still have 66% of that. We are going to use more because there's still PCOs that are going to be submitted, but we're keeping close track of the cost and not just approving things on the first go round. I don't think Delphi is too happy with it, but
No, and you keep us on the communication. So yeah, I know you guys are certainly going to bat in these and really digging into them, which is appreciated. Is there any questions or comments from the board on this change order number 5 and the 9 PCOs?
No, I have none. No.
No, it's not.
All right.
Steve, just a point of information, since we were talking about contingency. What percentage of the job is complete?
Construction-wise, through the end of June, we're at 30.5%.
30.5. Okay. And what percentage of the contingency has been used up?
I didn't catch it. What was that? Say that again, Carl.
What percentage of the contingency has been used up?
About 34%, something like that. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it, we have PCOs that we haven't finalized, but I calculate those into my contingency calculations. So I always try and look at what our worst case is. So yeah, about 34% of the construction contingency. We also have a soft cost contingency,
right.
But on the construction end, which would be the Delphi stuff, we've either approved or we're in the process of reviewing approximately 34% that would go to that contingency.
Yeah, I think you're up to
again. We have
you're
a
up to PCO up in the almost the 40s, right? 44 or something like that. Say
46.
46. Yeah.
Is 46. The 45 and 46 came in today.
So we're tracking quite a few, right?
We've had quite a few come in the last week and a half. That they've been items that we've asked for. They're not just coming up with stuff. They're tied to bulletins that have been released, because we've had, things have come up, RFIs have been brought up, we've looked at it. BHA has issued bulletins as far as what the change will be, and they're responding to them, but there's been a little lull in their response, and all of a sudden the floodgates are sort of open. I think part of that has to do with the fact that they've had a turnover in their management. Really not a turnover, but their main project manager has left the company. So I guess you could say one of the executive PMs is now the PM on the job. And the guy that's doing the paperwork now has been on the project all along, so we didn't have an issue with the change. It really wasn't a change. He was just sort of stepping in for the guy that left. So I think he started to dig through a lot of stuff that may have been in the process, and I think they were having some issues with their subs getting their pricing to them, because a bunch of these are subcontractor work. But there's been a whole bunch as of late, especially with what I mentioned, the issues with the rec center.
Yeah.
Which sort of leads me into my next sort of discussion is in regard to change orders. I had wanted to have more PCOs on this change order than we ended up with, but we just could not come to a resolution on a bunch, even though there was an effort to get them on this change order. It didn't happen yesterday or today, because again they gave us a bunch like last week, so we didn't have a lot of time to go through them, and there were a number of comments. We're gonna want to generate a change order 6 so that we can get them back into the rec center. So I think I'm going to sort of request we have a meeting, maybe an interim meeting between this and the next monthly meeting. Maybe 2 weeks. I hope that's okay, but I don't think we can wait a month.
All right.
Unless we give them authorization and just follow it up later, which that may be okay too.
Let's table that discussion just for a minute. Let's we can vote on this change order 5 here first, then we can chat about that.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. No. All right, so we reviewed change order 5. There was no more comments or questions. So I'd like to make a motion to approve change order number 5 for the Scituate Senior Center and Recreation Center, which include PCO number 14, 17R2, 18R1, 20, 22, 23R1, 26R1, 28, and 33. All have been reviewed by OPM and architect. The change order number 5 is in an amount of $31,325.27. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Carl. If we could do a roll call.
Larry?
Yes.
Ed DeSilvia? Ed? Linda Hayes?
Linda, you there?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
No problem.
Okay.
Stephanie Holland?
Yes.
John Miller?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Ed, are you there? Okay, and Stephen?
Yes. Ed, are you around? Or you maybe stepped up?
Yeah, I'm still here, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You in favor of the vote here?
Yep.
All right, good. All right, so voted unanimously. The motion passes. Thank you. I do have 2 other just invoices here. We should just wanted to get in the minutes and vote on them. One of them is Vertex's monthly invoice, standard invoice from Vertex for services from May 31st to June 27th. Just the standard, balance of contract, some commissioning and some materials testing that we carried with them. The invoices in the amount of $30,491.75. Any questions for Steve on the invoice or anything? There being none, I'd like to make a motion to approve Vertex monthly invoice for services from May 31st to June 27th in the amount of $30,491.75. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Carl. If we just do a quick roll call.
Larry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yep.
Linda Hayes?
Yes.
Stephanie Holland?
Yes.
John Miller?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
And Carl?
Yes.
All right, just one more invoice, just really quick. So BH plus A monthly invoice for services performed through May 31st. Standard architect invoices we've been reviewing. Vertex has reviewed the invoice also and signed off on it. The invoice is an amount of $36,727. Is there any questions or comments on this invoice?
Hey, Steve Kirby, that's for amendment number 3. That's
Oh, right,
not
I see that,
monthly.
yeah. Okay, so that's amendment number 3, right. That was,
There should be another invoice there for them for their monthly June.
is there a June invoice?
Steve, I have the number here. It's invoice number 24658.
Right.
Correct.
And the amount is $24,714.80.
All right, I'll come back to you, Larry.
Right.
Let's vote on this one first, then we'll vote on that one. You can print it and
Which one are we voting on?
so let's vote on the change order invoice, amendment number 3.
Number
Not
3.
change order, amendment number 3 rather, in the amount of $36,727. Is there a second on the invoice for BH plus A?
Second.
Seconded by Larry. Quick roll call.
Carl?
Yes.
Ed?
Yep.
Linda Hayes?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
John Miller?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes. Thank you.
And Larry?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Steve. So I do have the invoice for the monthly services now. We can go over that. So right, it's invoice number 24658 for services through June 30th, architect services through June 30th to BH plus A in the amount of $24,714.80. Standard monthly services for contract administration and associated costs. Any questions or comments on this invoice from BH plus A?
I have none.
No? All right, is there a second?
Second.
I'll
All right, quick roll call.
Who was it that seconded first?
Stephanie did, but somebody else did too.
Yeah, so Stephanie has a
I'll go
second.
with that. Okay, so Larry?
Yes.
Carl Quintana?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Stephen?
Yes. All right, good. Then, is there an amendment, Steve, to go over, or is that?
Yeah, we have amendment number 5 for the H&A.
Right.
For this is a result of the planning board decision letter from September of 2019. Item number 17 called for a parking monitoring plan and report. Essentially, they want a parking lot monitored after the senior center is occupied and in full operation, to determine whether or not the future parking lot expansion that we've accommodated, not by paving but having light poles installed, is needed or not. But part of the requirements of doing this parking monitoring plan is that we submit what the plan is to the planning board 6 months before occupancy, which is roughly around now. Through Joel, we have Park Corporation issued a scope of services plan on, starting the physical monitoring, writing up the report, and having recommendations. Their cost for this is $6,550, and then with Joel's time on top of that, the total amendment is $7,205. I forwarded the plan to Karen Joseph last week. I got an email from her today saying that she would take that plan and discuss it at the next planning board meeting to see if it was what they wanted. So hopefully it is, but I think we want to approve this amendment, and if something has to be adjusted, we can deal with it subsequent to that. But this would be something that would come out of the soft cost contingency.
I have a question. What if they find something wrong with the plan? How will that impact the project?
Well, if they find something that they don't like, I'm going to want to know what it is specifically, and then we'll go back and if it's more work, then we'll talk to PAR about what that really is, and if it's less or if it's a swap, or I'm not quite sure what they're going to come back with. We'll try and deal with it, hopefully for the amount that we're approving now.
So I just think here with 30% plus into the project, and they're coming up with this type of request that could impact the cost, and we're already eating up that contingency. $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and before you know it, you're talking real money.
But yeah. Carl, this was one of the items they had
Right.
In their approval back in September.
Right. So the
this is not a new item.
Yeah, the concern.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing I think with this is that even if we complete the project 100%, we get our certificate of occupancy. This is an item that could resurface depending on what the planning board feels about the results of the surveys, that 9 months later we could be coming back and looking at reconfiguring the parking lot if they feel that the parking as currently designed and being built is inadequate.
Yeah, the risk is they make us pave that
well,
back lot.
We have the future.
Yeah, but it's
So
something
even if
that
the code-
they had in their one of their conditions in their approval back in September. I mean, yeah, I think it was September of last year.
Correct. Yes.
I guess it might be good to talk to the paving reps and stuff and get a ballpark cost in that lot just so we have it in our back pocket. Does that seem?
I think that's a good idea, Steve, just to have an estimate.
Yeah. I agree. That's a great idea, Steve. We should definitely do that.
Put that in your
We could do
list.
that. Yeah, we could basically say, hey, this is something you're going to be doing while you're still here on the project. This would be a complete remobilization.
Yep.
6 months. Essentially next summer
Yeah, we'd need the worst case, right?
or even fall. Yeah.
And that's hard to judge too, because asphalt's a petroleum-based product, and it's sometimes it varies with the market, but.
But here's another thought. We'd be doing that through the general contractor with multiple markups. Does DPW have a blanket purchase agreement for paving throughout the town that, maybe through a state bid list that would be a much better pricing than having, these guys are, this site guy is out of Cape Cod, so, they've got travel. The pricing might be better off of off of that state business. We could certainly ask them for a price, and we'd have maybe a high order of magnitude, but
Yeah, I think that would be safe.
maybe do better.
Safe to have the higher magnitude, but.
Yeah, I mean, TL Edwards does our road work, but when we do parking lots, we normally bid it out.
Okay.
We don't normally do our parking lot work.
Did everyone hear that? That was Nancy.
No.
No, please say it again,
Could you
please.
repeat that?
Yep, TL Edwards is our roadway paver, but he doesn't, that company normally does not do parking lots. We normally bid out the parking lots separately. But we also have a hand paver that we just awarded a 3-year contract to, but it's $4,800 a day. So we have options to get prices from.
But I think for our principle,
I got it, thank you.
our practice, or what we're shooting for, I think getting a bid from the current contractor might be, it'd just be good to have a number.
Yeah. Rebid it if we have to, of course.
All right, so this amendment is in reference to the planning board request number 17. I mean, it's in here $7,200. They're going to review it. I mean, there may be some changes. Is everyone comfortable doing it? Maybe a not to exceed with a contingency on the planning board approval. Maybe a not to exceed $7,500 or something like that. Add a couple hundred to it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yep.
Does that sound
Yes.
okay, Steve, to you? Steve Kirby, does that sound
That's fine.
feasible? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, sure.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve, which amendment number is this?
5.
It has an amendment number on it.
It doesn't, no. There's no amendment.
It's number 5.
Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve amendment number 5 to BH plus A to carry costs to satisfy the planning board request number 17 to have parking lot monitoring and report for usage in the amount not to exceed $7,500, contingent on the planning board approval, which they are reviewing currently. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stephanie Holland.
Stephanie?
Can we do a quick roll call?
Larry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yep.
Carl?
Yes.
Linda? Yes. John?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes. Good. I think that, does that wrap it up for the senior center, Steve? You good with everything?
I just got one more item, just as a sort of an FYI. As part of the contract, required Delphi to hire an arborist to do a survey of the existing trees that are within the work limits. That arborist came up with a report that actually recommended taking a number of trees down. we're not going to do that per se. However, there's one 32-inch pin oak that's right in the southeast corner of the senior center that has overhanging limbs that we met with Mike Breen, and he's going to trim that. He's not taking it down, but he's going to trim those branches out of the way because they'd actually be on the roof of the porch area. And Mike was on site last week. But there's a very large, I don't know if you guys can recall this, but at the corner of the gymnasium main entrance, there is a large 52-inch American basswood. I would never know that unless I read the report, but that's what it is. That has a very large hole and decay midway up the main trunk that, unless you're looking for it, you wouldn't notice. And there is a real concern that tree may have problems, and as large and as full as it is, it may be a safety issue. So that may have to come down, only because it may not come down at the trunk, but it may snap halfway. Yeah. And that's where people are going to be coming in and out of the gym. So that's an issue that's out there. I'm not looking for a response or anything. I don't think it's a vote issue, but there is a tree that may have to come down just because of its poor condition.
Can you send that report out, Steve?
Yes. Yep. I forwarded. Kevin has a copy. I think Mike Breen has a copy, but I'll forward you a copy tonight.
Okay. I'll get it out to the board. All right, that's too bad. I know the trees were a touchy subject with the property, but yeah, let's take a review of the report and kind of make some final decisions with the town input.
Okay. Yeah. The only other thing I had was what I was saying previous before we had the vote on the just the possibility of having a quick meeting to approve another change order before the next monthly meeting.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I think the selectmen, they have a meeting next week, right?
So the selectmen's hearing room is booked for the next month.
Okay.
But if you could do it on a Wednesday, the next 2 Wednesdays are open.
Okay.
A Wednesday would be better for me in the interim.
Okay. So,
Okay.
is everybody available?
Yeah, are you talking August 5th or August 12th?
What'd you say, Steve? You needed a little bit to, how long?
Yeah, there's gonna be probably a fairly major discussion on site tomorrow about these, but
So is it 12th?
how many days do we need to post before you hold the meeting? 2?
Yeah, 48
Yeah.
hours.
Mm-hmm. It may be more likely the 12th than the 5th then.
All right, well, is everyone available
I'll
on
keep you
the
in.
12th?
I could be available on the 12th, yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah.
Alicia, you available on the 12th?
Yeah.
Steve, you're around on the 12th? Kirby?
Yeah, I'll make sure I am.
Okay. Larry, the 12th, work for you?
Yes.
Carl, the 12th?
Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
All right. Ed, how about you on the 12th? That work?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. Linda, the 12th?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. Stephanie?
12 works, yes.
All right. JD, how about you?
I'll mark it down.
All right. So the 12th it is, and we'll, me and Alicia will work on getting it squared away.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The room is booked.
Oh, thank you. So Nancy, you booked
all I got.
the room. Perfect. Sorry, just writing down a couple notes here. Okay, so that would conclude our agenda item here on the senior center, unless anything else. No, we're good. All right. So yeah, moving right along to the public safety complex update. So we're just looking to get a quick update from Kevin Carmody on the EOC HVAC. We're going to keep it pretty brief. Kevin's got a little voice thing going on, so I'll hand it over to Kevin for a brief update, and can have a quick discussion, move along.
Okay, so I met remotely with Scott Pettit to go from WSP to go over some issues, and we still need to go out to the site and look at our full issues. But the domestic water pump booster, we have not continued to have no problem with since we made those adjustments. The mixing valves for hot and cold water and the hot water valve have been working fine. We have one little blip on that, and Scott wants to come out and look at that.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're kind of breaking up.
Okay.
It sounds like there's some background noise with a TV or something.
Deadline has led to many of you, I believe, out of frustration, filing your bill.
Yeah, I stopped. I don't know what the background
Can everyone mute their phone except for Kevin, possibly?
Maybe been advanced because of politics at the expense of process. I want you to know that I care your.
Is everyone on mute?
Wrong. Here we are.
Definitely sounds like a TV.
It sounds like, yeah, it does sound like a TV.
As recent as the beginning.
I don't know what the background
All right, I'll just keep going.
Okay, just do your best, Kevin. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
I think if you could just give us an update on the EOC HVAC, that'd be good.
Okay, the light switch controls, we're having trouble again in the fire station. And I've reached out to the company on that. And the HVAC has been working good during this heat wave. And I am waiting for a proposal from GGT to give us a design for the EOC for alternate supplementary heating and cooling for that room.
Okay, that sounds good, Kevin. So at least it's in motion. You got some designers looking at it. That's appreciated. So
yeah, they're gonna send us the proposal.
Okay.
There you are. I'm still at work.
That's Alicia.
House is in session. I'm still working.
That's Alicia.
Alicia, is that you? Hello.
No, it was Karen. I'll text her after the meeting.
I can text Karen. I had her on my
That feels good.
Who was it?
I got it, Kevin.
This pandemic decimates much of the rest of our nation. And as we, as a Commonwealth, and as a healthcare system,
Technology here, right?
pandemic care solution, we are not out of the woods yet.
All right. So do any of the board members have any questions or comment on the EOC update on the HVAC? It sounds pretty cut and dry. We'll get a proposal and we can review it and hopefully close the books on that one. All right.
Yep, no comments.
Okay. Great. So that that concludes the public safety project update agenda item. We can move right along to the library project. The last remaining item there is just a discussion on the generator. I know we've kind of gone back and forth on either a full generator, a partial generator, what kind of fuel we're going to use. Talking about, I think to close out the project, we just need to get a good solid proposal and decide what direction we want to go in and get the proposal in front of the Board of Selectmen and just see how they want to handle it, whether they want to put it on the project or put it on capital for the town. So I know Kevin's been doing some work with some vendors and kind of figuring out what fuel would be the best, what size generator, what size, switch gear and things like that. I don't know, Kevin, just a quick brief update if you have anything more to add, that'd be
Yes, I do. So, as you may remember, we're waiting, we hired Contingency, who was the original engineer on the job, to spec out a generator for us, which they have done. The contract documents are like 95% complete. We have to finish the front end, and we're waiting for final drawings from them. We are planning a full generator for the entire building, because by the time you start doing it and do what you have to do to install it, it doesn't make any sense to just go at 75%.
No, I agree with that too. And like we said, all the rework you'd have to do electrically to separate out critical circuits and add new panels. It just doesn't make sense to split it up, right? So I think the full generator is probably the way to go, right? All right.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
The full generator.
Yeah, we're going with the full, and it's going to be 150 kilowatt, and we're going with diesel.
Okay, diesel fuel, yeah. So that makes sense too. Gets a little pricey running gas lines, things like that. I mean, diesel will get you, a good storage tank under there. It'll get you, 2, 3, 4 days of runtime, which is pretty ample. If you can get a fuel truck up there, that sounds sufficient to me. Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I just have a question. I'm just curious why we wouldn't go with gas, and you don't have to worry about getting, because we've certainly gone more than 3 days with power out in various sections of town. I know I have on Oakhurst Road.
Gas proves pretty expensive to run the piping, and then gas generators do carry a little more maintenance. But Kevin, what were we going to say?
So I wanted to go with gas, but it was a combination of it was going to be expensive to run, and we didn't have enough gas on the street.
Oh, okay.
Now that may have changed. And that may have changed with the new building out back of Central, and I still am going to pursue that because I kind of like the gas option for the same reasons you mentioned, Carl. But the diesel, no one in town is that concerned about the diesel because of all the people in the town that do diesel. But I still, if there's enough gas there, we might just look at it as we go through the process. But right now we're planning on diesel.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just track it as an add-on.
Have you considered a tank of a capacity that would give you at least 4 days as opposed to 3 days? I'm not sure how much larger a tank you would need.
I could ask that question. All of them come with the tanks at the base of the generator now. They're belly tanks.
Yeah.
It's part of they're part of the unit, and I can ask that question. But I don't know. But we're not terribly concerned with getting the diesel to it if we have to.
All right, good.
I'm a little concerned about it, but the others aren't.
All right, we'll just keep tracking that and let's get a good proposal together, and we'll get it in front of the selectmen and see where they want to go, and if they want to put it on the project, we'll keep tracking it. If they want to do something else, we'll work on closing out the project. Good, thank you. Thank you for the update, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Good. All right, so that's kind of it for the library update, unless anybody has any questions or comments on the library update.
No, I don't.
All right. Let's move on to our final agenda item here. Is any old or new business anyone would like to discuss?
I have none.
No. All right. So we'll wrap up here. So Alicia and I will work on getting the meeting set up on the 12th. We'll get an agenda out and get the CCTV lined up here to come in and good.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:36. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stephanie. That was Stephanie, right?
Stephanie.
All right. Can we just
Yes.
do a quick roll call?
Larry? Barry? Sorry. Barry? Carl?
Yes.
Ed?
Sorry, I was on mute. I say yes.
Thanks, Larry.
Linda?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steven?
Yes.
And Larry, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, thank you.
Okay, yep, thanks.
All right, sounds like the vote's unanimous, so the motion passes here, and the meeting is adjourned. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. Appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.